I think it was a number of things coming together. I watched my parents, who ran their own small business, work incredibly hard to kind of make it work. And then I myself was someone always in overdrive, all through school and through college. I knew I was the kind of person who, no matter what, was going to work 100 hours a week or whatever. And something just led me to think, I know this about me and I want what I do to make a difference in the world. Like, that was all that mattered to me. And that was really the thing. I found myself just searching for something I wasn't finding. I mean, I had become more and more aware of the inequities in our country. A country that aspires to be and sort of claims to be a place of equal opportunity, but really isn't one. And, I grew up in a bit of a bubble. Actually, my parents, who didn't have a ton of money, kind of bought a house on the edge of a very privileged community so that we could go to a public school there. And I grew up in the bubble of that community without really understanding the inequities in the world. And of course, you can't begin to see them at Princeton either. But it was there that I started realizing that where kids are born really predicts their opportunities. I was rooming with a first-generation college student, and through her met many others, and became a public policy major and learned more and more about it. So, I think I felt like I wanted to find a path to address those inequities, and I really felt that I wasn't alone, that there were thousands of graduating seniors out there across our country who were similarly searching for a way to make a real difference against our country's most pressing problems, and just didn't see the path. Literally all the recruiters at the time, this is 1989, were investment banks, management consulting firms, just banging down our doors saying, commit just 2 years. And everyone thought we were the me generation that just wanted to go work for those firms. And that wasn't it. Like, that actually it was just that we weren't seeing the opportunity to make a real difference. So it was all of that that led me to this idea. Oh, that's a really tough one. I would say, first of all, I just feel like the most luckiest, most privileged person in the world to have found my way to this so early on. And I say that because, first of all, every single day, how many people can say that what they do, and probably the room I'm talking to now can say this, but, every day is important and makes a meaningful difference. But also to do it alongside the most inspiring people who share my values and convictions and really push me to aspire to bigger and bigger things. Like, I think all of that is just, it's just an incredible privilege. And at the same time, I'm so glad that I started when I did, because what I've found, like so many of you all, is that these big, massive, complex problems in the world that so many people think are intractable are actually solvable. It's just that they're very hard to solve. And so I'm so glad to have found my way to this early enough that I could go up the steep, steep learning curves to actually, have a chance to make a real difference against the problem. And I'm particularly happy to have kind of, actually, thanks to people like Shaheen Mistry, who you know well, and others around the world, embraced the global part of this journey, because I've realized how much more quickly we can all move when we take a global approach. So I think all of those things are, I don't know, what I feel good about the journey. I can't say that I feel dissatisfied. Like, I look at the next 2 decades and next 25 years, hopefully, we'll see, and just am so excited to keep building, to play the long game in this, because I think that this is the arena. How do we ensure that all kids fulfill their potential? This is the only way we're going to shape a better future and find the path to peace and sustainability and, inclusiveness and all of this. And I'm excited to keep building on all the lessons learned and take the work to a higher and higher level alongside so many others. And particularly, I think I've just seen the power of the diversity of the world and the brilliance in such diverse cultures who think differently and can, all together, we can move so much more quickly. I would actually say that within any realm, any given governmental system, any given, kind of education establishment, any realm, there are allies, and there are probably also naysayers. I mean, I've met a lot of them, and I'm sure anyone engaged in this work where we're trying to change paradigms, I mean, there are always naysayers. But what I've found is that the whole key is to find your way to one or two allies, who can help you break through. So that's kind of how I view the path to social change. And I think, this is true in every realm, even in recruitment. Like some of our biggest allies are these, we talk a lot about raising money in the social sector, but even harder than convincing someone to give funds is convincing these young recruits to channel their energy in this direction, like put their lives into it. And I think even there you find the few people who are just like, yes, and can inspire many others to go that route. So I think it's often a matter of finding our way to the people who really do share the vision, share the values, and want to go forth and can bring others along. So I think it'd be helpful. I mean, let me just step back very quickly and share a bit about how Teach for All came about, because it really informed how we set all of this up. So I wasn't thinking about the rest of the world. I mean, I had my head down. I was focused on the massive continuing inequities and challenges in the United States. And, there was something in the I mean, literally 12 years ago, all of a sudden, I was talking to people from 13 countries, from India, Shaheen, to Chile, to Lebanon, and China, to many other places, incredible people who were just determined to do something similar in their countries and were looking for help. And it was really that led me and Teach First, which was the kind of first adaptation in the UK to come together, because they were hearing from these same folks, to say, let's build a global network that will accelerate the impact of this approach. And so from the start, we kind of articulated, I would say, almost a theory about how to grow global impact. And that theory is so simple, but it's basically that it takes two things equally working together. One is strong local entrepreneurship, vision, ownership. And the other is a platform, a global platform for sharing and learning, so that all those different people don't have to just start over and reinvent the wheel. And as simple as that is, it really is, it informed every single choice we made. And so one of the choices it informed was, to your question, how do we, quote, select these partners? We actually decided not to select them. We decided that what we would do would be to support anyone who really wanted to do this in their countries, to deeply understand the approach and to kind of build their governmental support and private sector support and organizational capacity necessary to launch. That we would never be trying to pursue this out in front of those local social entrepreneurs, but that whenever someone actually did build the local support for an organization that was truly aligned to certain unifying principles, like a unifying vision and mission and a set of unifying principles, then we said we would bring them into the network, because wherever there's a person pursuing this same thing, we want to be learning from their innovations. We want to be contributing to their impact. So from the start, we actually really said we're not going to be the ones to select. In a way, their countries select them. And we will do things like we'll go to countries where we think this might have applicability, where we haven't had someone coming to us, and just build awareness about the Teach for All approach. But then we'll step back again and wait and see, does someone come to us and say, I really want to make this happen? Because we think local ownership, local entrepreneurship, local initiative are so crucial to success. It's happened in 2 cases. I mean, we're 10 years in, we have 46 partners in the network. In one case, the team just essentially decided that they couldn't make it work personally, that they they sort of weren't willing to do what it took, and they supported a new person who's actually come along and launched Encina Brazil with their support. And in the other case, and which is now a network partner, but we made had a bit of a gap. In the other case, you know, the team just wasn't able to rally the resources to truly be aligned to these unifying principles. And so we kind of mutually agreed that we would need to part ways, because we don't want to represent to the world that there's a partner doing what we do when in fact they're not really able to train the teachers in you know, the kind of intensive way that we know is important, et cetera. I mean, I would say we do definitely have non-negotiables. I mean, we build these partnership agreements with every partner organization in the network. And, you know, if a partner falls out of alignment with any of these principles that they've committed to, then we would talk with them, and either they're facing a big challenge that makes it hard for them to live into it, and we should all work together to get them where they need to be, or we decide it's just not a match. You know, but so the unifying principles are very, I mean, as much as they could fit on this much piece of paper, they say a lot. And there are things like, there are 5 programmatic principles and 4 organizational ones. And there are things like, you know, they're the core aspects of the approach: a commitment to recruit and select as many as possible of a country's most promising future leaders, to train and develop them in pursuit of measurable impact for students' growth and development, you know, et cetera. Commitment to continue investing in their development as a leadership force for change, a commitment to measuring impact in the short term and in the long term. And then the organizational ones are things like, you know, we have a principle around being an independent organization, free from the control of any single entity like government or a company. We have another around a commitment to diversity and inclusiveness. You know, there are a few like that, but all of those are non-negotiable, and partner organizations don't come into the network until they are living into them. And if they start falling out, then we're constantly talking with folks around, but honestly, it hasn't been, we don't spend a lot of energy, you know, with a lot of issues, I must say, because I think by the time someone comes in and they want to be part of the network, they want to be learning and sharing together. And the principles are so high level and give so much freedom for local adaptation and innovation and all. That's a good question. I mean, we sign these partnership agreements. There might be something, in fact, you're making me want to go look, like, oh my gosh, some of them might be, but it's a long-term thing, you know, and anyone can end the partnership agreement with a certain amount of months notice. And it's a very simple partnership agreement, but it basically says, here's what the partner agrees to do. And there's another piece around, you know, engaging with the network in a way that's aligned to our core values. But those are the big pieces, like aligned to the unifying purpose, aligned to the unifying principles, and committing to live into the core values. And then we commit as a global organization to do certain things in support of the kind of collective work. So one of the things, well, the global organization does a number of different things, but as it relates to the network partners, our mission is to essentially accelerate and increase the aggregate impact of the network. And we we don't exactly do audits, but we have these dimensions of impact, and we're trying to see growth in these dimensions. There are things like scale and student impact and teacher learning and alumni leadership and community impact and organizational development. And we have these indicators that we can look at across country lines, so we can sort of see how are people doing. And we also deeply know our partners. We have regional teams who deeply know them. So you can put all that together and see if there are issues, where there are strengths and where people have a lot of work to do, et cetera. We have worked to build these and continue to work to build 4 kind of core competencies within the global organization. One is around capturing and spreading learnings. You know, we have these big areas of challenge like scaling and growing teacher and alumni impact and building strong organizations. And we have these regionally really try to understand what are the lessons learned among the partners doing the best, what are the commonalities, and then we work to provide direct support to partners to help them kind of live into those lessons learned. So that's one thing. Another thing is just connecting the partners directly. Like, they're each other's greatest source of support and inspiration, and we do a lot to just connect them in peer-to-peer groups. In, you know, we organize about 25 gatherings a year, heads of like functions, teams that have similar challenge. We do a global conference, you know, global CEO retreat and things like that. We have peer learning groups. We do a lot of, and we're doing more and more virtually around, you know, fostering connectivity, not only among the staff, but among the teachers and the alumni. The third piece is around accessing global resources for the benefit of the whole. That means in part funding. I mean, they're all responsible for raising their own funds. And then we also have like knowledge partnerships with, say, the OECD, or, you know, we do a lot to try to access global knowledge and make it available to our partners. And then the final area is around leadership development, just really working to contribute to the leadership development of the staff, teachers, and alumni across the network, which we do through kind of infusing a lot of leadership development work into our gatherings, and, you know, accessing coaches for folks, and again, creating peer learning groups, et cetera. Well, on our global team, we have, and I know this sounds like a lot, but we have 130 people on our team, and they're based in these regions around the world. And they're doing a number of things. So they're building, you know, at any given time, we have 20 or 25 people in the pipeline who are there for 3 years or so, who are really working hard to understand the approach, to build their local plans, to get their governmental support. I mean, it's a long process, and that's a really critical stage. And then there are the 46 partners where those folks are supporting to grow their impact. And it's, again, a pretty complex program. And then we also, you know, are working alongside many others to influence the global discussion around education, and to kind of elevate the perspectives of the diverse voices across our network to inform this global discussion, which can help create an environment that's more conducive to impact for all of us. That's such a good question. I mean, I think I would say overall that it has, in fact, I mean, the biggest idea, you know, the idea that all kids should have equal opportunity to fulfill their potential, and that education is a huge key part of the key to that. The idea that the kind of inequities that prevent some kids from doing that now are so systemic in nature. We can't solve them from within classrooms alone. Like, classrooms are, you know, an incredible avenue for impact, but ultimately we need people who understand what you understand, having worked with kids at the classroom level, to be reshaping schools and systems and changing policies and fixing nutrition systems and, you know, et cetera. I mean, I think the basic core idea that's brought us all together and that we continue to pursue is the same one, you know, as originally, you know, was envisioned. But I think, you know, with every year, you know, we're learning so much about what really you know, what really the path to success is. And also, I think we've learned so much, as I mentioned earlier, like the diversity of contexts and cultures just speeds up that learning curve. So like you, I mean, we actually a couple of years ago realized that, you know, we had in fact learned so much, and we thought it was really important to step back in a really ground up kind of inclusive process as a network to actually reconsider things. Like, and we started with the question, what's the 25-year vision? What are we working to accomplish together? We had an open call for vision teams in countries around the world to come together. They had to include students and teachers and alumni and staff and board members and supporters, like diverse teams, to say, what should the big vision be? And we created a drafting team, a diverse team from all across the network to consider all of that. And we ended up articulating a new kind of strategic framework that started with, by re-articulating our core purpose and our core values, and then also articulating this 25-year vision and kind of the things that we want to do to get on a path to it. And yeah, there are some important shifts that I think have emerged from our collective reflection and learning. I'll just mention two of them. One is, you know, I think we've always been around about kind of leadership development. Like that's kind of the core of our work. Like we're going to galvanize the rising generation of promising future leaders and channel their energy into the arena of working with the most, you know, vulnerable kids, and really cultivate their ongoing leadership as a force for change. And I think as you get closer and closer to our work, though, you realize it's not just about the leadership of these individuals we're recruiting and developing. It's about, you know, their students' leadership and the leadership of others in their schools and others in their communities. And so we've started thinking about our work as being around developing collective leadership to ensure all children fulfill their potential. You know, how do we orient our work around communities, and train and develop and support our folks in such a way that, and partner with those communities in such a way that ultimately we have people at every level of the system and across the ecosystem who are all exerting leadership to essentially affect the changes necessary to ensure that all kids do have, you know, the opportunity to fulfill their potential. So that's one change. And the other, which is maybe more exactly sort of aligned to, I think, the core of you all's work, is just, you know, we did start out with that vision statement that you articulated. One day, all children will have the opportunity to attain an excellent education. But we started asking ourselves, to what end? And we've re-articulated our, you know, what unites us globally as a vision around ensuring that kids can shape a better future, you know, for themselves and for all of us. And I think that has been really helpful in sort of helping us reflect on what kind of an education and what supports and opportunities do we need to put around kids to ensure that they can gain the competencies and the dispositions and the agency and the awareness to actually, you know, navigate a turbulent economy, solve these increasingly complex world challenges. So yeah, those are some of the things that I think have evolved a good bit and that are keeping us really motivated now. It's so tough for me to know without still more context. And that's, you know, my biggest thoughts as I think about you all, and I don't know that this is advice as much as it is just reflections. I just think you have an incredible opportunity. I mean, I think similarly about our work, and, you know, the world, you know, I'm so worried about the state of our planet and our global welfare. And as I've reflected on, you know, what is going on in the world over the last year in particular, you know, just all the things, all the issues that I'm sure keep us all up at night, about, you know, I don't know, the growing nationalism, the conflicts, the sustainability challenges. I mean, the more I've thought about it, it sounds so obvious and so trite, but like there is no hope other than the kids in our classrooms. they're the ones who are going to have to figure this out. I truly have given up on many of the adults in my own country and and others. But we have to come together as a global society and think about our kids and how to make sure that they are gaining the sense of agency, the sense of purpose, the values, the compassion, the empathy, and such to truly get us on a different trajectory. And I think what you all represent in that is, I mean, you're at the heart of what we need a lot more of, and we need to build what you're doing into our overall system clearly. And I think you have such potential to demonstrate excellence, as you say, and to show folks, a different way, and to engage with these bigger systems ultimately to influence the way that they're orienting and the kind of education that they're providing. So I just think what you're doing is at the heart of what needs to happen. And I'm just hoping and praying that you're incredibly successful. I mean, just whatever you can do, I think it's exactly what we need. I really do. I mean, it's harder and harder as I grow older and older. I just had a conversation with our staff about this actually, because, we do have more and more kind of veteran folks, and, the rising generation, the millennials, they are ready to go, and they've got lots of ideas, and they are ready to run the world in their own minds. And I think sometimes we can get a little exhausted by that, meaning we older people. And I was just saying, you know what? Young people have reshaped the world. Like, think about where, and if we don't stay open to that, we are going to be history. I mean, we need us all. I think I've gained a lot more respect for the value of experience over time. I think both are equally important. We need the people who ask the crazy questions, and bring it, in some cases, just a different level of optimism and energy in the face of these really intractable problems, even as we need, a lot of more seasoned folks. It's why I'm so excited about some of these new ways of operating in organizations that are all designed around kind of unleashing the leadership of everyone, like ensuring that we're, empowering folks to really own decisions close to the ground, and having systems to build the collective wisdom so that we're all learning from each other. Oh, you know what? My kids, they teach me a lot. I'll say two things which sound in conflict, which of course is the way kids are. Like, one is how much we underestimate kids.
Yes.
I think about some of the mantras I hear from my own kids are all rooted in their feeling like they're underestimated every day, like what they could actually do. And I look at the level that they can operate at when they're really set free, and it's we're way underestimating what they can do. And at the same time, and this is the conflictual thing, I've seen just how much support is necessary. Every day's a new day, and I have 4 kids, so I have a very diverse group of kids who all need different things, but it's amazing to me just how much support some of them need. And it makes me so worried for kids who are in settings where they have less, access to resources and such. It really does. Like, so both of those things I think are true at the same time. Like, how do we put the supports around all kids to enable them to really live into their incredible potential, which is just way beyond what I think we've collectively as a society kind of assumed for a long time. I think First of all, I love what I do, and think it's so important. I think so. Part of it is just embracing that. Like I put a lot in and I don't feel guilty about that. And part of it is family. I mean, my kids are just forced relaxation and incredible levels of support and love. And my husband, I mean, I'm so blessed to have a husband who really believes what I'm doing is important for the world and that I should keep doing it and keep traveling and all of that. And I think that's huge. And I do make space for myself. I mean, I know what I need. I've got to have my time to run or bike or do whatever. I've got to have a little time a day, every day, really, to do that, to get centered. And I think that's all I need, family, love and support, working with colleagues who I love and who push and support me. Kindness, I think.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, Kieran, I'm not good at this. How would I not want to be remembered?
Yes.
Probably as someone who just works all the time and has their head down,
Okay.
Mm. Um, that depends on the moment. I mean, there are so many different sorts of books. This is going to sound really, I read a book a year and a half ago called Reinventing Organizations. It sounds so dry. It's actually the book that inspired me around like really reinventing the way we work in a way that unleashes everyone's leadership. And I've really learned so much from it, and it's provided answers that I felt like I was searching for 25 years before that. So I might save that one at the moment.
Who's it by?
It's by Fred Laloux, Lalous. I know nothing, Kieran. I am, if my kids were here, they're going to be like, she'll never come up with it because I am so clueless. I know nothing. I'm not going to even venture on that one. Sorry, I'm so boring. I can see clearly now.
Okay.
Oh, that is so tough. I think, yeah, I can't even answer it. Like literally my mind went to two world leaders who are really in need of intervention. But I'm not even going to say
Are
that.
you going to dare say the name?
No. I would like to, what would I like to have? I'd like to be able to will myself more time.
Oh.
The time I need to be all the more centered and to spend more time being instead of doing, which I think is so important to this work of ours.